Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Franchise Empire newsletter. Today, we've got some cool things to go over with you. We're going to talk about a resale for $100,000, and we'll talk about our franchise of the week, which is Avoda Cleaning and Restoration. We will talk about from military service to business ownership. This is a little backstory on one of our candidates that we worked with and helped. And we'll talk about what you need to know before buying a franchise. Real quick before we do, just a very fast message. All right, sweet. If you guys are new here, my name is Tarek Johnson. I'm the CEO and founder of Franchise Empire, and I'm here with Mr. Mark Magerman, who is our head of brokerage. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Tarek, how are you?
Doing lovely.
Good.
Lovely. All right, well, let's dive in, starting with our resale. Tell us about this resale, Mark.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record when we do these each week, but we find that the real cool resales that are available tend to be in the services sector. A lot of them are home services. That's just kind of the way it is. And again, if you pay attention to our meetings here, resales are very tricky. Sometimes they can be ornery, but when really good brands do have a resale that makes it to the public market like this one does, we really dive into it and make sure it checks all our boxes. This one does. So feel free. Hempstead, New York is where this one's based. It is in the home service residential category. Asking price, $100,000, which I believe, Tarek, would be less than what they would if they bought a new territory for this brand, I believe. Wow. I also know that there probably isn't going to be a lot of availability in this area for new. So that doesn't usually happen. And this company did $120,000 in sales, gross sales, prior year. So I think it's a good opportunity. I know the brand. We don't share the brands here, but it's a very well-established brand, very high franchisee satisfaction brand. So that's a little bit about the numbers. And I think we have a couple other bullet points just that we can share. Again, over 200 franchisees makes it very mature. I'm not sure if this is a turnaround or a growth opportunity. So I said possibly one or the other. It could be that they've had it for a while and it needs to be turned around, or it could be that they're ramping it up. But again, good brand to look into. Obviously, when you have a really good brand and you become a franchisee, that gives you the opportunity to really scale your business by purchasing out other franchise owners who are selling. Again, if you listen to any of me dragging on over these last several weeks, that's how we did it. We had a franchise business that had 14 locations. We were a resale. We were purchased internally by the franchisee network. It's a beautiful thing when that happens, and that could be an opportunity here as well. Because they're robust and they have such a successful network, excellent franchisee validation, which means you have an opportunity as you go through your due diligence to speak to as many of these franchise owners as possible. There's a lot of benefit in talking to people who are actually doing it. And like the case with any resale at any point in time, prior leadership and or management experience is a real plus. If this is the first time you're ever venturing into business and you've never managed it before, kind of a slippery slope on that. But if you've had prior experience, that's a real opportunity. And again, make sure if you do come into this and you are getting introduced to the seller, if you have pre-approved financing, at least in a letter format, that's going to really move you to the top of the list and be interested by the seller. Again, we would not have even entertained a buyer who didn't come with pre-approval for financing. So a bunch of things that always are the case with the resale. I haven't seen, honestly, Tarek, in the months we've been doing this, a brand in this brand be available for resale. I haven't seen it. So, wow. Again, I think there are a lot of worse opportunities to look into. So we hope this resonates with some people out in the Hempstead, New York area.
Oh, cool.
And if it does, they can click the link below, right? I'm getting better at this. They can click the link below that will give access to not just that, but we have hundreds of resales available. And we'd love to be able to talk to you more about that. So click the link below, franchiseempire.com/resales, please.
Yes. Thanks for the breakdown, Mark. One comment I will mention: the likelihood is of what this is selling for, they probably would have to pay cash because I'm assuming that it's probably not making money, so they probably wouldn't be able to finance it.
Very fair point. Very fair
Okay.
point. Yeah.
Why do you think? I think this is a good opportunity, Mark, to because I don't even know what the brand is. You selected this and you
Yeah.
put this together, so you know what it is. It's like okay, let's see if I can read Mark's mind right
No,
now.
you can't.
Um, but it's people watching or listening may be thinking, okay, well, why is there a franchise for sale for $100,000 less than what the person paid for in a system that has over 200 franchisees? Like you said, you don't really see resales with this brand. So just what are some of the scenarios of why this person could be selling, and like what sort of, opportunity, does that represent, and how should a buyer be thinking about like an opportunity like this?
Well, again, and anybody who's listening who's heard me knows I'm very skeptical about some of these resales. I just am. And that skepticism is based on the big question, which is why didn't another franchise owner buy it out? Right? I don't know. What I do know is that this brand is very strong. We've had a lot of interested parties. We at Franchise Empire have placed several candidates with this brand into new territories. We know the development people. We know the leadership folks. We think strongly of the brand. Why would this be available? That's the $1 million question that whoever is interested needs to find out. What would be a satisfactory reason? The neighboring franchise owners recently bought and scaled and didn't have the wherewithal to add another territory now. That would make sense. It's in an area maybe that doesn't have other franchise owners around it. So there was nobody that conducively made sense to pick up this territory. There may be a couple more legitimate reasons, but I don't know. I mean, that's one of the things you have to really worry about with these resales is why didn't somebody else buy it out? I always ask that question, and I wouldn't go forward unless I got a real good answer. And I wouldn't even wait to get to the franchisee. I'd go to the franchisor and say, why is this available? Why didn't somebody else buy it out? There are good answers, but there also are bad answers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and sometimes it's just, the neighboring franchisee doesn't want to spend 100 grand and they're
Yeah.
already busy and tapped out, and like, oh my goodness, to take on another territory and do more, that could be overwhelming.
And that would be a really
Um,
good reason why it's available. And it could be a perfect reason that they just didn't want it. And that's okay if they're doing really well. But again, those are questions that are easily answered in the due diligence up front. Shame on anybody who comes into this, doesn't ask those questions, because that's the first question I would ask. Why the heck is this available? Show me the territories. Who else is around there? Let me talk to the other franchise owners there. Again, relatively simple for us because we're in the industry. And again, if somebody wants to get involved and hit the link below, get on our calendar, we'll give you that same guidance.
yeah, valid points. And the way that I think about these is that, assuming it's with a good brand, we already validated that it indeed is, and that there are franchisees that are successful at a broad scale in the franchise system. Then, could be well, number one, it's a value opportunity in my opinion, without knowing all the specifics of this sale. And it could be that someone had a health issue. Could be just that someone um came in with unrealistic expectations, thinking they could put in minimal work
Yep.
to produce the results they wanted. I've seen sometimes where they go, "Hey, I bought it. A family member was supposed to be running it. My brother, my son, whatever. Now they don't want to do it anymore." So there's all sorts of reasons why it could be, um, for sale. And to Mark's point, that's an important part of your due diligence, is understanding why.
Yep.
But there's a whole market of real estate investors and people that have been successful over, I don't know, a century, uh, doing what's called fixer uppers. And in my, looking at a resale that's priced at 100 grand, is what I would call a fixer upper or a turnaround opportunity. If it's only selling for 100 grand, it means it's probably not profitable. Could be breaking even, could be losing money. And people who have, done very well in the fixer upper world of real estate, they see a property that needs work and that needs money put into it, and they see the opportunity where other people aren't able to see past uh, the the reality in front of them, and they're able to profit or do well because of that vision. And so I think that's the mindset to walk into this with, since there are a lot of other successful franchisees, is, ooh, what kind of opportunity does this represent for me? Of course, you still have to do your due diligence, though.
Excellent point.
Awesome, y'all. Like Mark said, if you're interested in this resale, or finding out if any resales are available in your market, go to franchiseempire.com/resales. And by the way, y'all, Mark goes through a list of a whole bunch of resales to pick out one for this newsletter that he thinks is interesting. So, although we're not sharing the specific brand for confidentiality purposes, just know that Mark wouldn't have picked it if he didn't think that there was a value add for you guys, and reason to reach out, because we have a list of, I don't know, 100, 125, something like that, of various resales.
However, I did put the caveat on this one that there's some things that have to be answered that I don't know. So I don't want anybody
You
coming
did.
back to me saying I promised them that this would be some great business. I don't know. I know there's a lot of things going in the right direction here, but you still got to fill in the blanks.
Yep. Still got to do your homework, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. What's up, Dwight? Did
So
you ever
funny.
watch that show,
I
Mark?
did, yeah. I'm not an avid watcher like some other people, but every time I watched it, I laughed my you know what off. Hilarious show.
So funny. Um, he has a fire extinguisher. What? Let's talk about Chris and Catalina, which were candidates of ours. Mark, tell us about Chris
Yeah.
and Catalina.
They worked with Matt.
Uh,
They worked with our colleague Matt.
okay, cool.
Matt's our Australian broker. Calls everybody mate.
Mate.
Chris and Catalina were entering one of the biggest transitions of their lives. Both, I believe, both were in the military. Chris in active duty, Catalina in the reserves. They were relocating from Hawaii. Why are they doing that? I don't know. But relocating from Hawaii to Georgia with their young family and thinking deeply about what comes next. This is after their responsibilities with the military had ended. Two small children at home. They were looking for long-term stability and control over their future. That was their priority. Rather than stepping into another traditional job after military life, they decided to pursue franchise ownership in the home services HVAC industry, which they deemed as an essential, and they were correct, by the way, an essential needs-based business with strong demand and veteran-focused incentives. A little asterisk here. Military families make the most amazing franchise owners, Tarek, because they're just so conditioned to follow a set of playbooks and set of rules. So, not a surprise here. With guidance from our colleague Matt through the process, they identified a model that aligned with their leadership experience, discipline, and long-term goals. Now, I don't know if they came to Matt saying, we definitely want HVAC, which if they do, that makes it a little simpler for Matt. But if not, Matt realized that based on what they were looking for, when they're talking about an essential needs-based business, businesses like HVAC and plumbing and electric really jumped to the top of that. They were extremely focused on building something sustainable. They wanted independence, but they also wanted structure, and the franchising gave them both. So now they're building the foundation for their business that will grow alongside their family, and their next chapter is officially underway. The uniform may change, but the mission stays the same. So congratulations to these guys. My guess is 10 years from now, they'll be passing it on to their young children for a legacy business. And again, we love the HVAC sector here because it's based on the fact that people need it no matter what. So good job, Matt, and good job, Catalina and Chris. Can't wait to see how well you do. We got a lot of expectations for you.
Yeah, congratulations to them. What's you and I have talked about the HVAC business, and I shared a story from a few months ago about what happened to us. But it's the interesting thing about these electrical companies, and plumbing companies and HVAC companies is it doesn't matter if you want to spend money. And this will be this conversation and topic will be a great segue into our franchise of the week. But it doesn't matter if you want to spend money on your HVAC system. And granted, some people proactively will replace theirs, but we live in Florida, in Orlando. If the AC stops working and it's a warm day, which about 80% of the year it is, you can bet that we're going to pay whatever price it takes in order to get it fixed and resolved. And in some instances, when, like, let's say you have a 10-year-old house like ours, and they come out and say the cost of the repair is going to be 35% of what it would take to just get a new one, and it's pretty much at its window of time of 10 years because they don't make things as good these days that last as long. Well, we wound up spending $11,000 for a new HVAC unit and system. Wasn't excited or thrilled about it. Wasn't the intention or plan going into that week, but we did. And so, you being potentially a franchisee of a business like that, you can benefit. I'm not saying that you're intentionally benefiting from other people's pain, but you are providing a useful solution when needed, even when people don't want to spend the money.
Absolutely true. And another point on these businesses, which is we get this all the time, uh, people who don't know, who haven't been franchise owners before or been in the sector before, sometimes have a really hard leap to make to say, how in the world can I own an HVAC business? I don't have any mechanical inclination at all. I don't know how to fix HVAC machines. How can this even work? And I love when they bring that up, Tarek, because that's the beauty of the franchise model. As a matter of fact, the better HVAC franchise companies don't even want franchise owners to know how to fix HVAC equipment, because what they don't want you to do is spend your whole day on the basement of someone's house fixing it. That means you're working on the business and you have a job. What they want are people who can come in, scale a business, grow your staff, create tremendous customer satisfaction, and become very, very known in your community. Those are the things that they're looking for. So don't get intimidated over an industry that you don't have knowledge in. That's the beauty of the franchises. They support those people with filling in the gaps of what you don't know. What they cannot help you with is your own business acumen, leadership skills, and tenacity.
100%. Well said, Mark.
Thank you, Tarek.
Well, let's transition to our franchise of the week. This is exciting because lately, I don't know, for the last 4 or 5 months, our franchises of the week have generally been larger name franchises that you can, find on the kind of the entrepreneur list of the top 500, the top 500 franchises, which just generally mean they're the largest. But today we're going to talk about a franchise brand that is within our portfolio, one that we've had our candidates buy, that we show to our candidates, and that actually I know the CEO and founder pretty well. And so that brand is Voda Cleaning and Restoration. Mark, you want to tell us about? I mean, I know that you actively on a daily basis are talking about this brand to our candidates. So tell us a little bit about what they do, and them being a need and not a want, kind of like we were just talking about.
Yeah. And this is right in the sweet spot there. This is called Voda Cleaning and Restoration. And the first thing you ask yourself is, how can it be cleaning and restoration? Well, it's really two businesses in one, which makes it a really attractive model, which we probably won't get into too much in that in this discussion, but it is two businesses in one. Voda Cleaning is a business that's based on cleaning carpet and floor, and restoration, Voda Restoration, is a restoration business. So they really combine the best of both worlds with their branding and their marketing to start. It enables franchise owners to get up and running a lot quicker, because you start generating income on the cleaning services, because obviously with restoration, you're dependent upon catastrophic things to happen. So again, that's just a quick little strategy session behind the founders, what they did. But it's a recession-resistant business, as Tarek talked about. My gosh, if you have a flood or a fire, you don't have the luxury of saying, I'm not going to get it done. And it's also, the good news here also is it's usually a insurance paid process. So as a franchise owner, for Voda, you definitely know you're going to get paid because most people are getting insured. So they help customers be the heroes of their own homes and businesses by providing essential cleaning, which we talked about: carpet, upholstery, tile and grout, and restoration, water and mold mitigation when customers need them the most. With a vision to elevate the standards of cleaning and restoration across the nation, Voda Cleaning and Restoration utilizes a differentiated brand in the marketplace and robust service offering that provides franchisees with multiple revenue streams in both residential and commercial accounts. So let's see what it takes to own one on your own.
Nice. And basically, before we go into the numbers, if you have a pipe burst, a toilet overflow. I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios of when water damage can happen in your home. We've had it a couple of times in different homes, and it can be very expensive. And oftentimes, the insurance company, as Mark mentioned, is the one paying for it, or could be the one paying for it. And so, from a business standpoint, it's what's called third party paid. Where if you're going into someone's house, I mean, it could rack up a $15,000-$20,000 estimate.
Easy.
Well, oftentimes they're not the one paying the bill outside of their deductible, which makes it a unique business. Like when our HVAC unit went out, like we were just saying, it's not like I could hit up our insurance company and say, "Hey, can you guys pay for this HVAC unit?" But obviously, if something happened in the home that was something, water or mold related, that is something that, someone typically puts in as a claim with their insurance.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell us, walk us through the numbers on
I will.
this.
And the other thing that's important to talk about here is Voda as a franchise model has only been selling franchises for about 3 years. They had a corporate location that's been around for many, many years, but they really started franchising about 3 years ago. The reason I share that, Tarek, is they already have over 200 units sold in just 3 years. 95% of franchises never get to 100. These guys are already at 200. So it just talks about the popularity of the brand and the success breeding success. And when I say 200 units are sold, I'm not saying 200 individual franchise owners have come involved. Most people are getting involved with this brand, purchasing multiple units because they see the growth. So it's kind of an interesting thing that we know as brokers because we're so intimate with the brand. So not that that's written here anywhere, and that's kind of free additional information on the brand that I'm sure our friends over at Voda will be happy that I'm sharing that with them, with these folks. But again, the initial investment, you can also find all this information in the FDD, in this case, in item 7 on the investment. But between $201,000 and $357,608 will get you started opening day one with one Voda territory. This is, I believe it's one territory cost to get started here. And again, to put that in perspective, when I was in the food business, my cost was $1 million just to build the damn restaurant. Forget about operating it. Here, you're all in running this business for $357,000. So a very affordable price point for the benefit of what you get in return. That investment range includes a franchise fee of $59,500. Typically, how we train and work with our guide or counsel our candidates is that usually is the money that the candidate will take out of their own liquid assets to fund. So you'd pay the $59,500 the day you become a franchisee. The rest of the money is due at different intervals of your training and development as outlined in the FDD. The royalty fee for this, again, that's how franchisors make money. If you don't believe there's a value in paying a royalty, then you'll never become a franchise owner. In my case, I couldn't wait to pay my royalty because I knew I was getting way more in return for what it was costing me as an investment in my business. Please look at it as an investment, not a cost. 7% of your franchise business gross revenue or the minimum royalty fee of between $0 and $1,500 per month. Much more of that spelled out in the FDD. There's also a brand contribution fund during the first 12 months of operations, 1% of gross revenue, and then 2% thereafter. Again, why? Because they're spending significant money on your behalf. So that's your contribution. And then there's also a local advertising budget that they're going to recommend. I think they're going to insist on a certain amount, but as we learned, we invested a lot more than what the minimum was on our local brand marketing and advertising. So you got three different buckets of investment that you'll make on a weekly and monthly basis with the brand. Spelled out pretty clear there with the investment of 357.
Yeah, and the local advertising, we're gonna share some of the sales information here in a minute with you guys, but the local advertising, like I didn't understand this when I was first looking to buy a franchise and the way that this all worked, but that's money that you're spending directly within your territory and your community to drive revenue for your business. So, this could be money that you're spending on Google, on Meta, on however you're spending it to get customers. And so the way that you would think about this, and the way that again, something I didn't know what this term was or how it worked when I was first buying my franchise, but something that we measure now at Franchise Empire is you want to think about something called ROAS, which is your return on ad spend. So if you're advertising through Google, through Meta, whatever it is, you're investing that money, and then you're tracking the jobs and the revenue that you've received, from the money that you spent in that advertising. And as an example, our ROAS is basically 6.2. So for every dollar we put into advertising, we get $6 back. And so think about this. Think about if there was a machine where you stuck in $1 and the machine gave you $6 out. Here's the question. How many dollars would you put in that machine? And so that's the cool part about when you learn how to market and learn about advertising and you track what your return on ad spend is once you know it, spending money on marketing, aka investing money into marketing, it becomes unemotional. You're not thinking, oh, I'm scared to spend $10,000 a month on marketing or $15,000 a month on marketing. You now look at it as a math equation, because that's exactly what it is. If you can continue to produce those results consistently. And not every business, the food business, that's harder to track unless you're doing mailers, that you're tracking the average ticket when people are coming in with those mailers. But a business like this, a service-based business where you're generating the leads and you can see them coming through your CRM and your website and actually track and attribute to specific ads, you have a great opportunity to know exactly how much money that it's generating you.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, because I could imagine people listening to this with their eyes kind of rolling back in their head, but the added benefit here is you don't have to have any knowledge on how to budget and how to spend this advertising dollar. They're going to give you the local playbook. They're going to say, here's what we recommend. Here's how we recommend you start. Here's how you do it. And then as you get smarter and smarter, you're going to make enhancements to that. But again, the beauty of being a franchise owner is you're not in this business by yourself. You've got people helping you, guiding you along the way, versus now, let's say you are in the restoration business, but you're not a franchise. You've got to spend your time figuring out, forget how much you're spending on marketing. What should I market? What should I do? Where do I spend it? I have no idea. Meanwhile, as the franchise owner here, they're saying, here's what we recommend you do. And not for nothing, they're probably going to give you a marketing coach who's going to be working with you day to day to make sure that that's refined. So Tarek's right. This is an investment in your business. And as a franchise owner of a really good brand, it makes it plug and play.
Yeah, and I know for a fact that is true, or on the marketing coach, Mark, because a few weeks ago I had dinner with some of the team with Voda, and I sat next to Lexi, which is their marketing manager, who works directly with the franchisees and helping them be successful in their marketing.
So part of the reason we pick brands to be in our portfolio, because we know they're going to support the franchise owners.
Yeah, 100%.
Beautiful thing.
All right. So let's go over some of the numbers here. So here, this is what they call the predecessor outlet, which is basically the corporate location that was in business many years, that they then used this as the proven template and model in which to franchise the business. So you can see on the right-hand side where it says 2022. And in 2022, that business did $1.748 million in sales. And this is all information from the 2025 FDD. At some point within the next few months, the 2026 one will be out. And then you can see that you can see all of their costs and the gross profit and all of that good stuff. And you can see that their adjusted EBITDA was earning before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization was 402,000, 23%. And then you can see that they've been growing, and they've been growing a good bit. 2023, 2.4 million, 2024, 2.7 million. And here's what's interesting. Before the business was franchised, they operated under a different brand name. So I'm curious, Mark, I mean, to have grown $1 million over the course of 2 years, which is, I'm not sure the exact growth amount, but that's somewhere around like 60 to 70%, right? That's tremendous growth. I would imagine some of it would be attributed to the rebrand, to Voda. I know for a fact that the logo, the name Voda, all of the branding was created and produced by a very, very, very expensive marketing company before it was all created. So it definitely has a professional look to it. But that is abnormal, Mark, right? That sort of growth in a 2-year time period.
Yeah, I mean, it also kind of ties into the last few years when these service businesses have just blown up and people are really attracted to them, number one. And number two, I'm betting that, yeah, the branding and the new infusion of excitement certainly helped. And again, keep in mind that, these, because it's a relatively new brand, the reason that there's not a lot of franchisee specific information here is you've got to be up and running for the whole year to be in there. So a lot of these franchise owners have just kind of started their business. It'll be really interesting to see how, as 1 year turns to the next, this is going to become way more robust, because now you're going to start seeing real specific franchisee information. But even though it's a relatively newer brand, the fact that they've got 200 locations already sold tells you that a lot of people are smart enough to see this is one of the next great things coming, and people are diving on. So I tell candidates that, a lot of brands that we don't work with will say things like, boy, you better make a decision today because this might not be here tomorrow, which I think is a bunch of baloney for the most part. With this brand, when they say it, it's probably true. And I've actually had candidates, Tarek, that were interested in this brand, took a 6-month sabbatical, and guess what? Gone. So really popular brands are popular for a reason. Really smart people want to become franchise owners and take territories. So don't wait. Jump in.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you only have you can only put a franchise owner into the territory once. Once it's taken, it's taken. In terms of the numbers for 2023 and 2024, in terms of the EBITDA, when their revenue went up, 645,000 at a 26% margin, and then 613,000 at a 22% margin. And again, this is adjusted EBITDA, which is let's see, it's calculated by taking the EBITDA and subtracting the inputted royalty fee and brand fund contribution, because it's a corporate location. So of course they don't need to pay it. So that's them then showing that if you were a franchisee, those costs included.
Yep.
Mark, you want to talk about the let's see, we're not going to do the cost per job thing, but do you want to talk about some of the numbers for the franchisees?
Yeah, I knew this was coming because I've seen these sheets before. That's why I kind of talked a little bit about how, why is the company location doing 2.7, but the top 25% average gross revenue is only 803. And you got to remember that most of these are now franchised units, and they just haven't been up and running that long. They're all in their first or second year. So when you look at still see high gross revenues of over $1 million, low of 603, average of 803, these are the people who are building this model as we go. It's probably their first or their second year. So I think it's very encouraging when you see that, because it's not like the first year numbers are $50,000 and they got a lot of room to grow. Obviously, there's going to be a bottom 25%, but anybody on this call who works with us, we're not going to help. We're not going to be satisfied if you guys are bottom 25ers. So again, 803 next year when this numbers come out, I would not be surprised if the average gross revenue has tipped in over $1 million for the top 25%.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, yeah, the business has been around for 3 years. The corporate location was operating for like I think 10. Do you know how many years?
I think even longer. I don't know the date, but I know it's been longer than
It was
that.
like 10 or 15 years. So a long time. And look, we always tell people that for people that want $1 million business overnight, it's just not a realistic expectation.
Buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah, I mean, you have that analogy. Of course, Rome wasn't built in a night, but listen, guys, when you watch these YouTube videos and these stories of people that have built epic businesses, dig in. They're on year 5, they're on year 10. It takes time, and oftentimes there's actually a lot of franchisors where in their FDD they will show the mature versus the newer franchise units or territories. And typically the mature, they'll have the definition, their specific FTD, but it's usually like they've been up and operating for a full 2 or 3 years. And the difference in terms of the average sales is dramatic. So it takes time to build something. And then also keep in mind that, I mean, with some of these revenues produced, the item 7 shows startup costs between $200,000 to $357,000. Since we've been going over and highlighting some of the franchises on the franchise 500 list, that a good amount of them are more retail based. Some of these brands cost $600,000 to get open, and the highest performing franchisee is doing $900,000 on a $600,000 investment. So it also, hints at some of the benefits or potential benefits of a service-based model overall, where you can continue. Well, number one, the startup cost is lower, but you can continue to grow with vans, right? They're like, the name of this business is like having more and more vans, meaning you have a technician to fill that van. And what the cost of each van is for Voda, I don't know. Maybe Mark knows it, but I'll tell you what, it's not as much as opening up a second location of like when I owned my juice and smoothie spot, and that was $350,000 to get open, or when Mark owned his Five Guys that were $800,000 to $1 million to get open. So there's a unique scalability in just service as a business overall, not just specifically Voda.
Absolutely. And again, if you're, because they've already got 200 units sold, they're not all operating, but you buy that second territory, Tarek. That's what a lot of smart people are doing. You're only paying the franchise fee, right? So you're buying a second territory for only about $40,000-$50,000, and that's doubling the geography that you can run your business. That's how people are scaling it. So maybe in the first year, yeah, you're at 800,000, but year 5, year 6, you're going to have double the revenue of a territory because you've got 2 that you were smart enough to acquire. And 6 years later, when you're starting to benefit from that, if you decided to buy that second territory, then guess what? Long gone. So these are all parts of the tricks of the trade, the secrets that we try to help our candidates understand as they navigate the process. And that's why we love brands like Voda that are tremendous partners for us.
100%. So of course, we shared the numbers. This is all from their FDD, and just a reminder. I just felt like I had to do that. we're not going to go over all of these other invoices. I see invoices here in front of us. That's what it says. So I said what my eyes were looking at. We're not going to go over all of these other numbers that are in their FTD, but they have all sorts of interesting ones around the average cost per job and average number of invoices and average invoice and all that stuff, which is fascinating. And it makes the business less emotional, because what you're doing is it becomes a math equation. I've shared the story in a bunch of videos and content that we produced around after I did my pro forma, which is just financial projections. After I signed my franchise agreement, I knew that we needed basically, it was something like 125 transactions a day at an average transaction of like $10.22. That was what we needed in the first year of our franchise on a daily basis in order to hit our goal for the year. So it becomes less daunting of like, how do I build the X number of dollar business? It's like, okay, well, how do we hit 125 transactions coming in and make sure that the average that someone spends is over $10? And then it becomes much more manageable. So we're going to scroll through all of the numbers. Mark already talked about a lot of this, about 2 franchises in one. It's recession resistant. It's a need, not a want. Mark, you want to talk about the bottom 2? Because I don't think we hit on that a lot.
No, I think the key there, obviously, when it says industry leading proprietary technology suite and analytics, that's a standard now, right? Every one of these brands has amazingly robust technology that essentially allows you to run your business from your phone or your tablet.
I
And,
beg to differ. I
go
see
ahead.
some of these franchise brands, Mark, that are older, more antiquated. They're a little bit old school, and some of them aren't as up to date as Voda. I mean, they're definitely on the leading edge, but there are some brands out there that are a little bit, still in like maybe the 2010, 2015.
I stand corrected. My comment should have been the brands that we work with, it's standard operating
Got it.
procedure that they have these. The ones that don't, we don't really worry about anymore because we're not introducing people to that. I would be embarrassed. It's like inviting someone over to your house for dinner and having the house a mess. Like I'd be embarrassed to do that. I'd be embarrassed to introduce somebody to a brand that shows, technology from 2002. So fair enough. It's not every brand, but we're very selective in making sure the brands that we work with have this. But what I want to point out too on the marketing, lead generation, and appointment setting support, 2 things. The founder of this brand, I'm not going to mention his name, but he started his career as a lead generation guy, right? So he's really mastered lead generation, number 1. Number 2, very few brands, very few, I can count them on one hand, commercial outreach. See that? Commercial outreach. That means that they are actively trying to go out and get commercial business on behalf of the franchisees. Now, all the good brands have call centers and they'll answer calls and they'll even try to qualify and set appointments for you, but very few are actually reaching out on a commercial level. That's really, really valuable. And I point that out to every one of my candidates. And I ask them to focus in on the questioning when you're talking to the brand, what that includes. So yeah, a just tremendously supportive franchisor. And the candidates who become interested in this brand really enjoy the validation talking to other franchisees, because that's where the rubber hits the road. And that's where I've gotten a lot of this feedback. We've been fortunate enough to have many candidates become franchisees of Voda, and they've shared this specifically with me. So I'm not reading this off of a sheet. I'm taking it firsthand from other franchisees, what they've said to us.
Boom. Yeah, well said. So guys, if you're interested in Voda, or just wanting to know what franchises are available in your specific territory area that you live or that you may be moving to, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. And if you're qualified and you have the financial resources, then our team will be able to check and see what's available in your specific area. I know that there's a lot of territory that's not available with Voda that has already been sold, but there also is plenty of territory that is available with Voda as well. And again, what we, for specific type of industries and concepts, we'll typically have a few different brands that are in a certain space, because sometimes it's just a reality of it. There could be the best brand in the world, and I just used this analogy today with Ryan Mark, which was I was talking about hiring, and it doesn't matter how great someone's experience is. If it's like not within the specific area, the fit doesn't fit. So you could have the nicest shoes in the world and I could love the shoes, but if all you've got is a size 7 and I'm a size 12, then it doesn't matter. So it could be the best franchise in the world. If your territory is not available, then it's not available. And don't let that hold you back, because there's a lot of other great opportunities out there, if that turns out to be the case. Last but not least, you need to know this before buying a franchise. So, in this episode, we break down how our team evaluates whether someone is actually a good fit for franchising before they invest. We talk about time commitment, personality, coachability, capital, motivation, and what are the red flags we see when someone is moving into franchising for the wrong reason. So, if you're considering a franchise in 2026 and want an honest framework to decide whether this path makes sense for you, this episode will help you think clearly before taking the next step. Marketing team, that was fantastic breakdown and summary of the episode. You guys can watch this on YouTube, on our Franchise Empire YouTube channel, or you can listen to it on any of the popular podcast platforms by just typing in 0 to Profitable Franchise Podcast. And, if you're watching this and you made it this far in the content, then that means you like our content and our style, what it is that we put out. What people often say is they appreciate the fact that we're authentic with our feedback and that we're not trying to convince everyone that franchising is something that they should do. And we often, like this video, talk about who franchising is not for and who shouldn't do it. And when you should probably walk away from the search and maybe just, go do something different. And that's just fine and dandy as well. Cool. Mark, anything else to add?
No, just you're right. We don't sell anybody on the benefits of franchise ownership. We can't make people decide that this is right for them. We can do a really good job helping you once you've made that decision and guiding you through, but you're not going to get any hard sell from us or any of the brokers at Franchise Empire because we know that it's not for everybody.
100%. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next Wednesday. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mark.
Bye. Thank you.